Finally, it's here, my 100 subs special video. This video is more so a guide and tips on how I use my main class, Bouncer. I guess you could call this a guide, but this is just my take on how I use the class as a multi-ship below mid-bouncer. But Shiro, why are you making a bouncer guide when there are so many out there already? Simple, this is more so aimed at my friends and those who ask me how I play the class. And so this video will be my answer to you all on how I play, my strats, and etc. So, I don't have to go being everyone's teacher independently, plus I thought this would make for a good video. So sit back, relax, take notes, and let's get started. Disclaimer, this is not me saying I'm the best at the class. I am not the best bouncer out there, and will never claim to be. I myself will always be a student of this game. This is just how I myself play it. You can decide whether how I play hits the mark of mastery or not. But disclaimer and intro out of the way, let's bounce into it. I know, weak joke. Please don't attack me in the comments. For this video, I will break this up into 4 parts. 1. Basic bouncer info. 2. Advanced tricks on PAs and how I utilize them. And 3. My skill tree, add-on skills, subclass, gear, fixa, and augment recommendations. 4. Tips to get better with the class. So, what is Bouncer class? Bouncer is a hybrid melee/technique class known for its mobility, aerial combat, and ability to adapt to enemy elemental weaknesses. Bouncer has 2 weapons to choose from, that being soaring blades, fast, close-range, slashing weapons with mid-air combos, and jet boots, kicking weapons that let you cast techniques, magic, on the fly while staying mobile. The strengths in Bouncer is very agile, great for dodging and aerial combat, can shift between melee and tech elemental damage, effective solo or in party play, good support in both bossing with physical downs and element downs. The weaknesses in Bouncer: lower raw defense, requires skillful movement and parries to survive, can be mechanically demanding for newer players, photon point hungry in both soaring blades and jet boots. Bouncer is best for players who enjoy fast, stylish combat, those who want flexibility between physical and magical playstyles, people who love being airborne, reactive, and flashy, players who want to play a good DPS class. Now we'll go over the PAs. First up, soaring blades. Weapon action is a multi-purpose parry and counterattack mechanic that lets you block incoming attacks and strike back immediately with a powerful follow-up in and outside of PAs. Raving Falcon, a fast, gap-closing thrust attack where your character propels forward while slashing with additional input. It also delivers multiple hits as you slash in a straight line from long range toward enemies, without additional input. Roaring Pheasant is a powerful, multi-hit spin slashing combo where your character performs a series of quick, flowing sword strikes ending with a strong finishing slash. It's designed for close-range burst damage with great combo potential. Destructive Stork is a powerful good circle AoE attack for a good reposition tool, and can be used on a vertical scale with additional input to avoid attacks or get up to higher enemies or bosses. And finally, Rampaging Harrier is a linear, high-damage attack that turns into a combo of slashes. It's built for hitting enemies with a barge and quick succession of slash attacks followed by a photon blades to rain down on your enemy, and can pinpoint the photon blade rain with additional input to your target. Now for Jet Boots PAs. Weapon action is a quick dodge / parry that can be used for mobility, evasion, and interruption during jet boot PAs and combat. It allows you to stay highly mobile while weaving in offensive and defensive maneuvers. Spinning Gust launches the player into the air with a vertical spin. Holding the PA down will change the attack in exchange for using more PP. Violet Gale is a fast, acrobatic aerial PA where your character performs a rapid spinning kick horizontally while moving forward. Holding down the PA will launch a quick burst damage while pulling you back in exchange for using more PP. Fierce Wave is a fast, ground-based thrust kick that creates a shockwave of damage in front of you. A forward strike designed for short-range burst and combo pressure, perfect for grounded combat with jet boots. Surging Impulse is a high-speed PA attack where your character propels forward in a burst of a thrust kick. It's built for mobility and burst damage, making it excellent for quick, easy damage while keeping back after the PA is done. Holding down the PA will create a circle around you to make passive damage, while at close range with your target once the circle expires it will explode with a little burst damage, in exchange for using more PP. With all that basic general info done and said, now we jump into part 2 of this video. Advanced tricks on PAs and how I utilize them. Also, I will only apply and talk about the PAs and skills that I use since you know this is a guide on how I use Bouncer anyway. First is Raving Falcon. For me, I usually use this PA when I'm at long range to keep my DPS going with my enemy and need a little breathing room or need to close the gap and jump back into close range for DPS with the second input. Second is Roaring Pheasant. This PA I use mainly for ether on down enemies, or if I need to tank a hit without being knocked away, or to fill up my Pinion Blade gauge fast for big DPS, and also an easy tool I use to be able to BAPS, Blade Art Parry Sidestep, but more on that a little later. Third is Destructive Stork. I use this PA quite often. Good AoE damage, can be used to tank a hit without being knocked away, or out of the PA using the second round inputs for the vertical slashes and overall like how I explained how it works. It's a good tool for repositioning yourself into better spots while still being on the attack, and with Tech Type Custom 3, it's an even better passive damage PA. More on that later too. Fourth, Rampaging Harrier. I use this PA a lot while facing bosses one-on-one. This PA is just great overall, easy counter slash parries, not many locked frames or animations to be stuck taking massive damage, and is a good DPS tool overall for both Pinion Blade and DPS building in general, and can be a good tool to avoid a certain few attacks, since the startup of the second input for the PA has a little window of iframes in it. Now for Jet Boot PAs I only use a few. Think of Jet Boots as your backup slash support weapon to help build maximum DPS and elemental down support for your group slash friends, while making your Soaring Blades your main go-to weapon for damage 90% of the time. First up, Spinning Gust. I use this PA mainly for mobility, not really for DPS or any of that, for it's a good startup for arcs records to close in on my enemies fast, but that's all I use it for. Second, Violet Gale. This PA I use to help build up my Jet Sweep Jolt for more DPS in my back pocket, and to keep up the damage while I charge it up, that's about it. Third is Fierce Wave. Now this PA here goes hand in hand with Violet Gale PA because these two PAs together max out the Jet Sweep Jolt bar for easy access to Jet Sweep. Only works best with both Tech Type 2 customs for both Violet Gale and Fierce Wave. And finally, Surging Impulse. Yeah, I don't really use this PA often. I only ever use it to set up before a quest or boss appears. It also helps build up Jet Sweep and passive DPS by holding down the PA for the circle around variant. Now for the more advanced stuff. First is Blade Art Parry Sidesteps, or BAPS. What is BAPS? BAPS is an advanced play to pull off. It allows you to double parry and counterattack with both the weapon action itself along with the Blade Art Parry, basically using weapon action while in a PA for Soaring Blades. Though it is very tricky to time, and not all attacks can be BAPS through. More so the multi-hit attacks as well as long-lasting duration attacks being thrown at you. Even I have not been able to BAPS through every attack in game, so not a big deal if you can't pull it off in real time. Your PA should carry you easily, but BAPS is a good trick to know and to have in your arsenal kit. Next is Pinion Blade. What is Pinion Blade? Pinion Blade is a huge burst damage single strike attack skill found on the skill tree. It has a 30-second cooldown and is easily built up using Soaring Blade PAs, weapon actions, and parries. Now, when exactly do I use pin blade? There are 3 situations when I use it. One is when the enemy or boss is down, because the attacks has a little startup to it before it actually hits. A down is the perfect time to let a pin blade loose, to ensure that your pin blade hits. This way of when to use pin blade requires a little bit of practice and timing. The second situation when I use it is a little time right before a boss breaks. Since there's a wind-up animation for it, if you can time it just right, you'll be able to land the pin blade right as the boss is broken and get massive damage out of it, while still doing other things to set up yourself up for bigger DPS down the line. Then just counterattack damage, example jet sweep jolt and passive PA damage. The third time when I use a pin blade is more so a fail-safe if you're taking a lot of damage and you need a little breather, pop a pin blade, since the skill itself has iframes to 99% of attacks. Why 99%? Well, now it's time for Jet Sweep Jolt. What is Jet Sweep Jolt? Jet Sweep Jolt is Jet Boot skill that is a single multi-strike attack blast that's built up by parrying and using Jet Boot PAs. Example Fierce Wave and Violet Gale Type 2 combo. When do I use Jet Sweep? There are few scenarios when I use Jet Sweep. A good time is when a boss is down, because of 2 reasons. One, when you use Jet Sweep, it helps you gain PP back. And 2, when you use Jet Sweep, it switches to your JBs, if multi-weapon together with your blades. And if it switches to your Jet Boots, it makes for quick access to your best Photon Blast coming from Bouncer, which goes hand in hand to the other scenario when I use Jet Sweep. The next scenario when I use it is when I have Photon Blast ready and the boss is down, because when using a Jet Boots Photon Blast, that alone charges up the Jet Sweep gauge to 100%. So it would kind of be a waste if I don't use the first Jet Sweep I build up to not only switch to my Jet Boots, but to up and build up a free Jet Sweep to maximize my DPS. It just all meshes well together, and it works for me. And lastly, Fanatic Blade. What is Fanatic Blade? Fanatic Blade is a soaring blade skill that enhances soaring blades by giving you access to a powerful offensive buff that temporarily boosts your multi-hit attacks, fires tracking blades, and significantly increases damage output for a short period. When do I use Fan Blade? This one is a bit tricky, but the first way I like to use it is when I've got a pin blade ready, because when using Fan Blade and then going into a pin blade, the skill automatically fires photon blades at the enemy to help build up another pin blade and keep up the DPS. Another time I like to use it is sometimes right after a pin blade. Like if I'm lacking the DPS department, that's when I like to pop it while doing PAs. Multi-hit PAs especially is the best when Fan Blade is activated, example Destructive Stork PA. So yeah, in short guys, and forgive me Jet Boot mains out there, but I don't use Jet Boots as much as I do with Soaring Blades, sorry. Personally, I like Blades a little more because of the DPS, but more cause I love dual wielding in any RPG. Anyways, now here comes part 3 of my tips and advice on how to put all this together. First, let's take a look-see at my skill tree and add-on skills. Pause if needed. If you don't have what I have for add-ons, no worries, just try to get as high as you can with what you got, then build up to it at your own pace. Now for gear and fixes. I gotta split you guys up into 2 categories. If you're on a budget and don't think you'll main Bouncer for the long haul, you can skip this part and just run the free gear. But if you're someone who wants to main and pick up Bouncer Oswell, as dedicate yourself to it like I have and be way better than me, stick around in this part. For gear, I'm going to keep this nice and simple, so no abandak whaling. Just for simplicity's sake. First up, weapon fixa. According to many people, and after the fixa buff, Wix is the best in slot fixa now for weapons. I have not personally tried Wix myself, always ran abandak and attack before the changes. So you can go ahead and see what works. But for me, if I was a beginner, I'd more than likely would go with attack or Wix fixa 5. Now in terms of armor/unit fixes. The best I'd say, and that I use, is Orgseis. It helps build up your photon blast gauge for more DPS, though since you're always on the attack anyways for Bouncer to build up those downs and skill gauges from Pin Blade to Jet Sweep, Orgs just works best, I'd say. Now, if I were a beginner with an attack 5 or Wix fixa with 3 Orgs units, I would recommend these augments for BIS on all your units and weapons. Yes, I'll give you all the best X combos for Bouncer, list them off, and say what works best in a little bit. For all your armor/units, I would go for this. That is BIS, best in slot. In terms of armor, I'd say. Now for our weapon of soaring blades and jet boots together. That is BIS, best in slot. Now you must be asking yourself, why Grand Dread Keeper and ULT Domina instead of better general high potency Augs? That's because of floor potency. That potency is very important, except for Slayers. Now why is it important? Floor potency is literally the floor of your damage, so no crits or bonus damage, none of that. It is just your bottom of the barrel damage. For example, if I use Pin Blade, and I don't crit this and have low floor potency, I'm going to be losing out on keeping my DPS and damage afloat. So think of floor potency this way. Think of it as a safety net for your damage. If you don't crit, that floor potency will help your bottom damage not fall off as much, if that makes sense. This also saves Pin Blade from making you lose damage, since it's a one-strike burst move and not a multi-hit attack like PAs and Jet Sweep, which has more chances for high roll damage than a one single strike move. Now, for X augment combos that I'd use for Bouncer is one of these. Pause if needed. And that's all the EX combos I can recommend and would use as a Bouncer. And before I end this part off, 2 more things I will show is the tech art customs I use. For me and Ramping Harrier, I always use Tech Type 3, it's the best to use in my opinion. For Destructive Stork, I mainly use Tech Type 3 for that sweet AoE passive damage. For Roaring Phase, and it's between Type 1 or Type 2. It all depends on what I'm about to face, to be honest. Now for Jet Boot PA types. For Spinning Gust, I'd use Type 1, since it's the best movement type for it. For Violet Gale, like I said while explaining how to fill up Jet Sweep Jolt, I'd go with Type 2. And for Fierce Wave Type 2 as well, just for easy Jet Sweep build-up. Okay, now before I give you all tips on how to get better and end this off, these are the best subclasses for Bouncer being Slayer, for increased critical rate and recover PP when you critical hit. Fighter increases damage and PP recovery against downed enemies. And Force for increased photon point regeneration, recover photon point when a nearby enemy is defeated. But what do I personally use? For me, I use Slayer, and in my opinion it's the best for two reasons. One is because I don't have a problem managing my photon points. And two, Fighter is situational, and by the time you do get it down, you'll already be outputting far more damage with crits and etc. early on anyways while having a photon point recovery whenever you crit. So really, Slayer subclass is the best of both worlds of Fighter and Force sub. But there is a catch: with Slayer sub you take more damage, so keep that in mind. Slayer sub is a double-edged sword, so while you're out there putting the hurt on bosses, you have a chance to take heavy damage yourself. So just a heads up. Alright, now on to the last part of this. My tips to get better with the class. How do I excel to get better with the class and be as below mid as you? First tip I can say without a doubt is run ARCS records, mainly the cocoon ones with bosses in them, but a board race and race dash never hurt anyone. For those, you'll want to set them up to the highest difficulty. And then you just keep practicing over and over, see how fast and effective you can be in them. That alone helps your reaction speed, timing, and everything, so for sure run the records and get on that leaderboard and practice. My second tip would be to try and do endgame standing quests like Dark Falls Solace, Dark Falls Dalian, and Veil, if you're feeling spicy. And a little floor 100 Masquerade never hurt anyone. Well, except me when it first dropped. Third tip, keep an open mind and adept. Look, I'll say it, yes, it is important to have a PA rotation, yes, but if you can get over the learning curve to adept and use the right skill, PAs and movement options at the right time, like I have in a way, you'll go far as bouncer. Fourth tip, watch and learn from other bouncer mains through videos or streams, whether it's a solo run, a duo, or bouncer gameplay, anything like that. It's good to get an eye for players who are better than us, see what they do, and try to include that into our arsenal to become better players. Fifth tip, try to fight a variety of enemies and bosses and memorize their attack patterns. This is a pretty big tip for me because it helped me get better too. Before being in real-time quests or missions, it's best to get acquainted with most enemy types and bosses, because once you learn that attack pattern of said boss or enemy to become second nature, and you face that type in a real-time quest, you will have no problem knowing when to parry or weapon action through their attacks, meaning more DPS and less downtime getting knocked away, as well as making you more versatile against any boss or enemy in real-time action and flow of combat. With those tips in mind, I think all of you will be good and better than me. Just practice, learn, and never stop trying to get better. Alright, with all that said and done, again, I just want to say thank you all for 100 subs on YouTube. It's been a really neat and cool experience for me. Did I ever think I would get to this point? Not at all, to tell you all the truth. But I am grateful and honored that I am able to make content and show it all to you. Makes me feel good, knowing I'm doing my part for this community, no matter what hate or toxicity befalls me while on this journey. But now that we have hit 100 plus subs on YouTube, I will now leave my Discord server in the description in this video, and henceforth for any new videos I upload from now on. So don't be afraid to join, come around and talk, chill, and share your works of art through videos and screenshots here, while having a place of peace.
A place to relax and vibe.
A little place to call home.
And a sunset that's comforting.
Just know I am happy you guys helped me get this far, to build my own server and community. You guys are the best to me. You all are the real stars here. Never forget that. With that said,
Take care.
and I hope this helped you in some way. Love you all, and till next time.